CEO's frustration revealed as Waitress's hidden Italian fluency transforms the entire experience. Emily wiped the yesterday's coffee grounds from the counter as the diner buzzed with the usual morning chaos. The clattering of plates mixed with the chatter of diners' families, friends, and the occasional businessman in a sharp suit. This was her life, the relentless rhythm of the bustling diner in downtown Chicago. She thrived in her role, driven by a determination to support her mother and younger brother. Yet, every Tuesday, a cold breeze swept through the diner with the arrival of Derek, the CEO whose frustrated demeanor often cast a long shadow over the staff. He strode in at the same hour each week, oozing authority, and his impatience was like a piercing chill in the air. This Tuesday morning was no different. The diner's energy surged as Emily balanced the coffee pot in one hand while scribbling orders with the other. She took a deep breath, reminding herself that her family depended on her ability to handle even the roughest customers. But when Derek's demanding voice cut through the chatter, it sent a jolt through her, tightening her muscles like a wire pulled too taut. "I need my coffee now, Emily," he barked, his sharp tone causing heads to turn. Emily felt a wave of nervousness wash over her, but something deep within her sparked a defiance born from long days and relentless work. "Buongiorno, signore," she blurted out, her Italian spilling forth without a second thought. The diner fell silent. Derek's furrowed brow transformed into a bewildered expression as he blinked at her, confusion intermingling with something else, interest, perhaps. For a brief moment, she saw human vulnerability in his steely facade. "Excuse me," he replied, his authoritative air faltering. Emily seized the moment, pushing her nerves aside. They exchanged words in broken Italian, and Emily's heart pounded both from the thrill of the interaction and the weight of her coworkers' discerning eyes. Whispers and glances of jealousy bubbled up around her, each gaze fueling an anxiety that slowly curled around her chest. Could she allow herself to connect with him? The very thought was like a double-edged sword. On one side lay an opportunity out of this life, a corporate job, a way to support her family without the strain of long shifts. On the other, her co-workers, her loyalty to the diner, and the bitter glances that cornered her senses. She could sense the growing tension. This was a risk. A dangerous gamble. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Returning to the moment, Derek's gaze shifted, and suddenly, she felt the weight of unspoken expectations hanging between them. The soft hum of the diner faded, replaced by a deafening silence punctuated only by the clinking of silverware. She was engulfed in a swirling storm of emotions. What if this was her chance? Yet, what if it jeopardized everything she had fought for? The moment hung heavily in the air, a tightrope walk toward potential disaster or unexpected success. As they stood on the brink of an unwritten chapter, the diner around them faded into the background. Emily felt the ground beneath her shift, her heart racing against the uncertainty of their futures. Would she dare step forward into this unexpected connection, risking everything? Or would she retreat into the familiar, leaving this moment untapped, much like the rain pouring against the diner windows, seeking its path yet finding only blurred reflections? She met Derek's eyes, her breath caught in her throat, the echoes of their stories weaving tighter together, propelling her into a decision that could change everything. In the charged silence, Emily felt the urgency of the moment hammering at her insides, a clock ticking louder with every heartbeat. It was more than just a connection with Derek, it was the pivotal moment she had yearned for, the possible gate to a different life. With her family's needs weighing heavily on her shoulders, the stakes couldn't be clearer. For a brief second, she could imagine herself shedding the diner's grease and scattered napkins. Visuals of tidy corporate offices filled with innovative minds and bright future prospects danced through her mind, promising liberation from the grind of everyday service. Yet fear rattled her core, whispering doubts that clung like shadows. Would she be seen as a traitor to her colleagues by pursuing this? Was she ready to step into a world so different from her humble upbringing? As Derek's gaze softened, she saw a flicker of vulnerability, an invitation to lean closer, not just to his physical presence but to the person beneath the polished exterior. "You speak Italian?" he questioned, his tone shifting as if the weight of expectation had slightly receded. Emily nodded, her voice trembling as she answered. "Yes, a little. I learned from my grandmother." She swallowed hard, willing herself not to backpedal. Why not embrace the opportunity to showcase her talent? "I'm proud of my heritage, you know." Her voice tinged with conviction surprised her even as the words left her mouth. Derek's expression transformed, genuine intrigue dancing in his eyes. "That's fascinating. Ever thought about using it in a different environment? It might suit you well." The assumption in his words sent a shiver up her spine. Did he mean it as a compliment or as a strategy to get her to abandon everything she held dear? "I love this place," she replied, perhaps a little too defensively. "It's been good to me." She watched his expression closely, searching for commercial intent behind the curious facade. He leaned forward, dropping his voice, creating a cocoon of intimacy amid the bustling diner. "You could do much more. You have the talent to rise above this." A momentary flicker of ambition ignited in Emily's chest. She could hear her mother's struggles echoing in her mind, urging her to seek opportunities beyond their struggles. Her heart raced as she grappled with the implication of his statement. What more could she do? She had spent years honing her resolve, embracing her role, fiercely protective of her family. Would seeking greater heights truly be a betrayal, or was it time to champion her own aspirations? The echo of an old ambition pulsed through her, challenging her to rethink her limits. But before she could process this new information, the sound of a coffee cup clattering to the floor broke the delicate moment. Her co-worker's eyes narrowed, teetering on the brink of jealous speculation. Tension rippled through the diner again, and every lingering glance fanned the flames of her internal conflict. Was she truly ready to stake her claim on a future forged from her own desires? Would she risk everything to dip her toe beyond the safety of her current reality? Derek's gaze remained locked on her, waiting for her response, urging clarity, and yet, everything felt murky. She could sense the critical pivot in her life hanging by a hair-thin thread. Succumbing to fear meant she would forfeit potential, but stepping into the unknown also meant risking the bond she had built. The frenetic energy of the diner hummed around them, she could no longer defer her decision. Would she embrace possibility or retreat into familiarity? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a loud voice cut through the diner. "Emily." It was her brother, his face flushed with urgency as he entered the diner. The moment was lost, and reality rushed back in, seeming more daunting than before. As she turned to face him, a sinking realization washed over her. Life had interrupted, but this tension and opportunity refused to dissipate. It was beginning to shape her into someone capable of demanding more, but would she gather the strength to act? With the stakes raised ever higher, she stood on the precipice of transformation, knowing that everything she desired hinged on the path she chose. Determined to carve out her next move, Emily glanced back at Derek, his eyes inviting her once more. She faced the turmoil of her choice head-on. In this whirlwind of obligations, ambitions, and fears, what would become of her now? What followed could alter everything, reshape her identity, completely rewrite her future. Emily's heart sank as she locked eyes with her brother, his urgency a stark reminder of her familial responsibilities. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "Can we talk?" he replied, glancing around the diner, his brows knitting together. The tension in his posture felt weighted, as if he were bearing the crushing gravity of their family's struggles alone. With a hesitant nod, she followed him outside, the bustling clamor of the diner fading behind her. She leaned against the cool metal of the building's exterior, the night air settling on her skin. What is going on? He inhaled sharply, his youthful exuberance dimmed. Mom got laid off again, Emily. I don't know how we're going to pay the bills this month. Pain shot through her. She was just starting to get back on her feet, Emily said, her mind racing as she dissected the implications of this setback. Suddenly, the allure of a corporate office seemed like a dream too far away, even as Derek's words echoed in her mind. We need your help more than ever, he pressed, glancing back toward the diner, where she could sense Derek watching them. Can you work extra shifts? Could you, I don't know, give up some of your free time? The request struck her like a physical blow. The weight of her loyalty to her family waged war against an insistent flicker of ambition. The idea of leaving the diner had always seemed impossible, a betrayal to those who had supported her. Yet, a voice deep inside began to challenge her, why must she choose one over the other? Wasn't it possible to rise while still protecting those she loved? Maybe, she began cautiously, maybe there's a way I could. A new wave of determination surged through her. She remembered Derek's intrigue, the way he saw potential in her when she had only seen limitations. Perhaps the tools for change lay not in abandoning her family, but in expanding her options. She could explore opportunities while still supporting them. Emily. A familiar voice broke her thoughts. It was Derek, breaking through the din of her worries. He approached them with purpose, radiating confidence that felt like a lighthouse in her foggy mind. Hope I'm not interrupting, he said, but she could see the curiosity and concern woven into each syllable. Just a family thing, she replied, the urgency of everyday life bubbling back to the surface. Derek switched his gaze to her brother, offering an encouraging smile. You know, your sister has unique talents that could be of use in a different environment, he remarked, his voice carrying a resonance of opportunity. Her brother's brows lifted in surprise. Like what? Fluent Italian, for starters, Derek interjected, looking back at Emily, the desire for her to embrace her newfound potential flickering in his expression. I have a contact in an international marketing firm who could likely use someone who speaks the language. The words landed with the weight of possibility. What? Emily's voice barely masked her disbelief. You really think they'd be interested in me? Absolutely, he said, his tone heavy with sincerity and conviction. Meet this contact. See what happens. You can make your own decision. No expectations, just a conversation. Standing between them, two worlds collided, the loyalty to her family and the emerging potential of her own path. Derek's encouragement felt like an invitation to explore a route she once thought off limits, while her brother's shared burden intertwined her with her family's reality. Can we make this work? She heard herself asking, liberating her spirit as if unshackling heavy chains she'd worn her entire life. You have to decide, Em, her brother said with caution and hope, urgency still dampening the edges of his resolve. As the weight of their expectations bore down on her, Emily took a step back, wide-eyed at the suggestion laid before her. This new opportunity radiated like sunlight breaking through pervasive clouds, yet it also cast shadows of her doubts. Could she truly balance both? The urgency surged again, the moment of truth beckoning her to confront her fears, desires, and responsibilities. Am I ready? She pondered silently, knowing that each road branched into uncharted territory. Would this chance unlock a future she never dared to imagine? Emboldened by the prospect, she ran her fingers through her hair, releasing a breath she didn't know she was holding. Derek's proposition lingered, spun with myriad possibilities, evoking both excitement and fear. With every heartbeat, the call to step beyond the diner called to her, an adventure into the wild unknown, yet forever tethered to what she held dear. Could she be an architect of her own life while remaining anchored to her family? As uncertainty wrapped around her, she felt the gravitational pull toward Derek. The decision lay before her, ever so clear yet daunting. Would she seize the opportunity or step back into the safety of familiarity? And as she turned to answer, Emily knew that what she chose next would determine everything. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the bustling street. Emily found herself standing on the sidewalk, the cool breeze brushing against her skin, yet her heart raced with a heat of uncertainty. Derek had retreated into the diner, leaving her with swirling thoughts that danced like fireflies in the twilight. I can't just abandon them, she whispered to herself, her mind a battleground where ambition clashed with familial obligation. Yet those words, once a shield against change, felt stale and unconvincing now. She turned her gaze toward the diner. Inside, her reflections flickered in the polished surfaces her current life, predictable yet stable, battling with the lustrous possibilities that Derek's suggestion had ignited. What could she offer them, and was it enough? It became an inner monologue, replaying her brother's troubled expression like a film. Her mother's struggles reverberated in that moment, yet the flicker of hope Derek had infused into her could not be ignored. Emily inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of her Italian fluency returning in whispers of identity she tucked away. Maybe it was time to reclaim what she had almost forgotten about herself. Determined, she stepped away from the diner, her feet leading her toward the bus stop a few blocks down. With every step, the ground felt firmer beneath her, as if she were shedding old skin, preparing to step into something larger than herself. The thought of meeting this contact, of tasting the unknown, weighed both exhilarating and terrifying. Minutes later, she found herself perched on the cold metal bench, carefully considering how to present herself in this new realm. Her innate tendency for caution hummed in the back of her mind, urging her to second-guess every potential move. What can I even bring to the table? She mused, her fingers clasping the bag resting on her lap. She focused on breathing, drawing in the sense of warm pastries from the diner, using it to anchor her nerves. Italian cuisine had always been a joy in the kitchen, yet speaking the language felt like slipping into a foreign skin. It was exhilarating but also demanding. Could she really navigate through an international marketing firm where every other person breathed ambition and confidence? The bus appeared on the horizon, its headlights cutting through the gathering darkness. It seemed like a metaphor for her journey, a shining beacon that might lead her away from the familiar into uncharted territory. With a fluttering heartbeat, she climbed aboard, the familiar squeaking sounds and gentle lurches of the vehicle aligning with the uncertainty in her chest. Settled into her seat, she mentally rehearsed potential conversations. Would she downplay her skills and present herself as merely a waitress seeking help, or would she step boldly into her potential, exuding confidence like she truly believed in her worth? Just as the thought solidified, the bus jolted to a stop. A flicker of urgency ignited a need for boldness. She grasped the straps of her bag and squeezed her eyes shut for a brief second, trying to summon clarity. When she opened them, determination bubbled within her. She would listen to the voice calling for change, the one encouraging her to nurture her aspirations without forsaking her family. This was a chance not just for work but for building a bridge, one that could return with not just resources, but lessons and growth for everyone waiting back home. As she descended from the bus, the city lights shimmered with promise. The bustling streets, filled with life and opportunity, offered no guarantees but beckoned her to forge her own path. Emily glanced at her watch and quickened her stride toward the meeting location. Each step was filled with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, a medley that accompanied every new endeavor. The weight of her family's challenges thrummed behind her, yet it also danced forward, fueling her determination. Would her talents transform into more than just a side gig, or would they become a lifeline for her family? The stakes were high, and as she approached the towering glass building, she felt a buzz of anticipation, the moment of truth whispering soft yet insistent, a quiet promise of what could come. And right then, as she walked through the revolving doors, she resolved to seize this moment. The deep intake of breath filled her lungs with a newfound purpose. But an underlying truth loomed large. What if she failed? In that question lingered the realization of facing something even greater than herself, and she knew this journey was not merely about her own aspirations. The challenge to confront both personal ambition and familial loyalty had begun, yet a solid foundation of courage was settling within her. Would this leap of faith redefine everything, or would she find herself lost in the waves of anxiety? The answer awaited, and with every beat of her heart, the thrill of possibility was overpowering her doubts. Emily stepped into the unknown, ready to confront her future. The meeting had officially begun, and a reply to her lingering doubt loomed ahead. What would it mean to emerge not just as a participant but as a leader? The atmosphere inside the glass building felt stifling, the air thick with ambition and unspoken aspirations. Emily entered the brightly lit lobby and approached the reception desk, her heart pounding. The polished marble floor reflected not just her form but the choices laid before her, a tangible representation of everything she might become. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked, flashing a polite but distracted smile. "I'm here for the meeting with Mr. Martinez," Emily answered, fighting the tremor in her voice. She felt small, a mere fish in an ocean of sharks. Casting the thoughts aside, she reminded herself who she was, a woman with a story, a life filled with nuances more intricate than merely serving food. As she was directed to the conference room, anxiety gnawed at her, feeding on her fear of inadequacy. What if they saw through her facade? That she was just a waitress, a girl from humble beginnings? Yet, Derek's words echoed in her mind, her background, her bilingual ability, it all mattered more than she had previously believed. The conference room was vast, with a sleek table and a wall of glass offering a view of the bustling cityscape. A small group of well-dressed individuals gathered. Before she could draw a breath to steady herself, Mr. Martinez, the company's CEO, entered, exuding confidence that lit a fire of inspiration within her. "Thank you all for being here," he began, immediately enveloping the room in his presence. Emily couldn't help but take note of the way he commanded attention, something she longed to do herself. Throughout the meeting, ideas flowed like the water from a fountain, each participant contributing with ease. Her initial impulse was to remain quiet, to absorb and process, mapping out her approach. As she listened, her mind raced with potential ways she could fit into this narrative. Ideas sparked and evaporated like smoke. She needed to latch onto the right one. Then it happened. A project concerning an Italian restaurant's campaign came up. Emily's heart leaped. Just as someone threw out a lackluster concept, Emily felt a surge of energy. The room fell silent, every eye turned expectantly in her direction. "What if we approached it through an authentic lens?" she suggested, her voice steadier than she felt. "Capture the essence of Italian culture, not just the food, but the stories and connections that come with it." The sudden shift in discussion was palpable. She drew on her experiences, how cooking in her family had been more than nourishment, it had been tradition, familiarity, and love. Phrases in Italian slipped out, painting a vibrant picture that trapped the group's attention. Mr. Martinez cocked an eyebrow, intrigued. "It seems we might have more to explore here than I thought," he said, nodding slightly. Recognition tasted sweet, and she felt the weight of her fear lifting, if only for a moment. Minutes passed, deep discussions ensued, and for the first time, Emily felt a sliver of hope. Engaging with her colleagues became easier as they appreciated her insight and passion for the project. It was intoxicating, this feeling of being valued for what she knew. Yet, lingering doubts still hovered. Was it enough? Could she truly shift their perceptions of her, from waitress to professional? The meeting concluded with a promise to reevaluate the concept. As she stood to leave, Emily noticed a shift in how others regarded her. The CEO's gaze lingered a moment longer, filled with an unspoken acknowledgement. It was validation she hadn't realized she sought. Walking back through the lobby, her thoughts spun with excitement and uncertainty. City lights twinkled outside, and for the first time, it felt like they were celebrating her potential rather than reflecting her past. Yet, as she stepped out under the glow of the streetlights, the reality of her familial obligations punctured her exhilaration. Would her new role bring true change to her family's struggles, or would she find herself torn between her ambitions and her responsibilities? The night loomed heavy, and with it, the question. Unanswered, Would this be the first step towards her dreams, or simply another reminder of the individual she was straddling adrift between two worlds? She had drawn one bold line today, but could she withstand the forces that would seek to unearth her anxieties? As she took a deep breath, ready to embrace the challenges ahead, the shadows around her whispered truths yet to be uncovered. And in the quiet space of her mind, an unsettling realization trailed behind her: the real battle was just beginning. Would she be able to confront the expectations of her family while embracing this newfound part of herself? Emily sat in her small apartment, the city's echoes filtering through the window. She had traded the polished marble and executive suits for the familiar clutter of her life, a world wrapped in uncertainty yet infused with an undeniable sense of possibility. The lingering image of Mr. Martinez's intrigue danced in her mind, a vivid reminder of her own potential. She opened her laptop, and the screen lit up, revealing an array of emails from colleagues and even a cryptic note from Mr. Martinez himself, suggesting they continue the conversation about the Italian restaurant's campaign. This was her moment, a tangible opportunity for growth, but doubt still nipped at her legs like an insistent pup. Could she really make an impact? Determined not to let fear reign, she began crafting her response. Each keystroke felt like a thread weaving her connection to this new world. She recounted the ideas they had discussed, elaborating on how her personal experiences could influence their marketing strategies. The more she wrote, the more she uncovered parts of herself that had lain dormant. After clicking send, Emily sat back, her heart racing with equal parts excitement and apprehension. What if they didn't see her worth? For years, she had defined herself through the lens of others, her family's expectations, the stereotypes of her past. But now, with heightened resolve, she recognized that she had a unique perspective to offer, more intricate than the limitations imposed upon her. A few days later, she received an invitation for a brainstorming session at the office. The prospect thrilled her, yet unease bubbles surfaced. Would her ideas hold weight among the seasoned professionals? The nagging voice in her head warned her of the sharks swimming beneath the polished surface. She had swum in those waters before, and it had nearly drowned her ambition. On the morning of the session, Emily dressed thoughtfully, choosing her favorite navy blazer. It felt empowering, a silent promise to honor her capabilities. As she made her way to the office, echoes of her family's struggles whispered reminders of her burdens. They, too, had dreams, fragile bursts of hope shining through their daily grind. Once inside the office, she noticed a stark contrast from her last visit. The buzz of activity plugged into the current of urgency, setting her nerves alight. The brainstorming room was more crowded this time, filled with the usual cadre of suits and ties. Emily anchored herself in the knowledge of her expertise, the stories she had lived, the culture she had breathed. This time, however, her approach was different. Instead of shrinking back, she took a deep breath, reminding herself of the ground she had gained. As the meeting kicked off, Emily immersed herself in the conversation, feeling the flow of creative energy wash over her. When the discussion turned to audience engagement, her moment arrived. "I think we need to tap into the emotional connections people have with food," she offered, her voice rising above the chatter. "It's about more than just a plate on the table, it's the memories we create with loved ones while sharing a meal. The heart of Italian culture embodies narrative, it's intimate, it's personal." Mr. Martinez turned to her, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. "That's an interesting angle. Can you expand on that?" As she spoke, she could see the shift in engagement across the room, the subtle nods of approval. She wielded her passion like a sword, cutting through apprehension, opening avenues of discussion that hadn't yet been explored. Afterward, Emily walked out feeling invigorated yet exhausted. She hadn't just participated, she had asserted her presence. Returning to her apartment, she reflected on her long-held belief that her past defined her path. For the first time, she glimpsed the reality that her experiences were tools, sharpened and ready to carve out a new trajectory. But self-discovery was no whimsy. External pressures loomed. Would her family question her commitment to support them? Would they see her ambition as disloyalty, a deviation from their sacrifices? The path before her was winding, and shadows of doubt still flitted in and out of her consciousness. Before succumbing to the weight of her dilemmas, she reached for her phone to call Derek, craving his insight and encouragement. Would he help her navigate these turbulent waters? Would he see the strength blossoming within her, or would shadows of her past still hold her hostage? The conversation she had been yearning for had yet to unfold, and perhaps it would reveal truths and decisions that could pivot her journey altogether. As she dialed, a voice echoed within her, daring to speak the possibility into existence. She was ready to face whatever came next. But deep inside, a question simmered: was she truly prepared to embrace the life she envisioned, teetering at the edge of something transformative? Emily heard Derek's familiar tone on the other end of the line, an anchor amidst the swell of uncertainty she was navigating. As he greeted her, the warmth in his voice momentarily calmed her racing thoughts. "Derek," she started, hesitating for a moment to gather her thoughts. "I had this intense brainstorming session today." He chuckled lightly. "I'm not surprised. You were always the smart one in our little group." But Emily sensed an undercurrent of seriousness in his voice. "I don't just want to be smart," she said, the urgency creeping into her tone. "I want to be impactful. I gave input today that seemed to resonate, but I can't shake off this nagging feeling like it was just a fluke." "Why do you doubt yourself?" he asked, and the question rang with an undeniable familiarity. "It's your perspective, your history, it's what sets you apart. That's not a fluke, that's a strength." Her mind raced back to moments of her childhood spent gorging on her grandmother's spaghetti, the meals seasoned with laughter and stories. Those memories felt like pieces of armor she could wear, each bite a reminder of her roots, each story a thread to weave into professional tapestry. But self-doubt whispered that those memories belonged in a kitchen, not a corporate boardroom. "I guess I'm scared," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "Scared that my ambitions could drive a wedge between me and my family. They've sacrificed so much for me to chase something that feels so different." "Your path is your own, Derek replied gently, but something in his voice made her pause. "What you're doing is brave. You have to believe that pursuing what you want doesn't mean abandoning those who have been by your side." His words ignited a flicker of defiance in her. She envisioned a future where she could lead, where her unique flair for storytelling would transcend the confines of her upbringing. She started planning ways to fuse her heritage with her work, to bring a richness to the meals and moments she would celebrate with her family, while still crafting her professional identity. As they continued their conversation, she found herself confidently mapping out her next steps. "Maybe I can create a proposal that emphasizes the interplay of family narratives and culinary culture. They can see how our heritage could enhance their brand, how it humanizes the dining experience." "Now that's the Emily I know," Derek encouraged, but behind his praise, she could hear the skepticism of her own convictions. Did she really believe her ideas would be welcomed with open arms? The call ended, but the embers of doubt lingered. The more she visualized her proposal, the more exhilarating it felt, but it also bore the weight of her family's dreams. Were they prepared to watch her reshape her destiny? She leaned back on her couch, eyes darting around her small apartment filled with nostalgia. She could already see the clash of expectations looming, a familial pull on one side and corporate ambition on the other. Yet, as night cloaked the city in a serene silence, a clarity began to emerge. Emily stood, her determination setting her prototype proposal into motion. With each slide, she meticulously articulated how her roots gave depth to the campaign. The flavors of Italy were more than taste, they signified emotional connections spanning generations. She envisioned her idea sparking curiosity, not just about the restaurant, but about the narrative underpinning the cuisine itself. As dawn broke and rejuvenated her with a fresh resolve, Emily's mind whirred. She realized this new path presented an imminent confrontation with her family's perception of ambition. The reality hadn't yet fully set in, and she was poised on the brink of a personal reckoning. But was she ready to take that leap? As she glanced at her phone, a message from Mr. Martinez popped up. "Can you meet tomorrow? I want to discuss next steps for the campaign." An electric thrill coursed through her, mingling with apprehension. Tomorrow wouldn't just be another meeting, it would represent the crossroads of her ambitions and her loyalties. Would she have the courage to frame the dialogue authentically, with her family's legacy firmly on display? The answer teetered at the forefront of her thoughts, waiting to crystallize. Could she truly embrace the expansive life she was beginning to unfurl? The morning sun infiltrated Emily's apartment, illuminating the remnants of her late-night brainstorming. A half-finished slide deck glowed on her laptop, its brightness a stark contrast to the shadows of doubt that loomed in her mind. She poured herself a cup of coffee, the aroma grounding her as she paced around the room. Today was more than just another day at the office, this was a moment where her vision could either ignite or fizzle into the ether of silent dreams. With each sip, her heart raced. After Derek's call, she had spent hours refining her proposal. The words swirled in her mind like a tempest, battling between hope and fear. As much as she believed in her concept, the thought of presenting it made her palms sweat. She needed to convince Mr. Martinez and the entire team that tying in family narratives wasn't just a quirky addition but a core enhancement to their brand identity. When she finally sat down to review her slides, Emily felt a sense of purpose coursing through her. She laid out connections between culinary traditions and storytelling, each point meticulously crafted from memories of her grandmother's kitchen. It was no longer about proving herself to her team, it was about bringing authenticity to a world often shrouded in corporate shadows. As her phone buzzed with reminders about the meeting, she couldn't shake the image of her family's sacrifices. Their hope resided in her, yet their expectations were shackles at times, pulling her back to familiar safety even as she craved to leap into the unknown. This duality, the love for her lineage and the hunger for her own dreams, had culminated into this pivotal moment of truth. Arriving at the office, the air buzzed with the hum of activity, each sound sharpening her focus. She glanced at colleagues exchanging banter, and doubt slithered back, questioning her ability to disrupt the existing narrative. But instead of retreating into her insecurities, Emily steeled herself. Today, she would express the narrative embedded within her roots. It was not just about cuisine, it was a vessel carrying her family's legacy. As she walked into the conference room, she found Mr. Martinez and a few key decision-makers flipping through their notepads, engaged in hushed discussions. The atmosphere shifted when she approached, transforming anxiety into determination. She inhaled, drawing from her inner reservoir of stories and resilience. "Thank you for meeting with me today," Emily began, her voice steady as she introduced her proposal. The room's energy was charged as she persisted, weaving tales of Italian culinary traditions into the heart of their campaign strategy. Each slide ignited discussion, her colleagues leaned in, their focus reflecting a growing curiosity. Were they finally beginning to see the essence of her perspective? Yet deep within, there was a gnawing question: were her contributions valued simply because they aligned with the current trends, or did they actually empower a perception shift in their brand? As the dialogue unfolded, Emily noticed Mr. Martinez's pensive gaze. He nodded in response to her insights, yet his expression masked uncertainty. It was a moment laced with unspoken complexities, but she pressed on, bringing her family's stories to life in the corporate setting. As the meeting drew to a climax, Mr. Martinez paused, his brow furrowing in thought. "Emily, you present a fascinating angle," he said, drawing the room's attention. "But I must ask, how do you plan to ensure that this authenticity resonates with our broader audience?" The weight of his question seeped into her resolve, challenging her assumptions. She had touched the heart of the initiative, but could she indeed bridge that cultural gap effectively? A sudden clarity illuminated Emily's mind. She decided then and there to center her response on her heritage and personal experience. "It's about involving everyone in this narrative," she replied, her voice unwavering. "I believe we can organize culinary storytelling workshops that include our staff members, drawing on their personal backgrounds, making this not just a campaign, but a connection." As the final response hung in the air, the look on Mr. Martinez's face began to change, hinting at a flicker of intrigue. Emily could feel the tide turning, but beneath the surface, uncertainty still lurked. Could this be the breakthrough she had longed for, or a veiled rejection about to surface? With that thought lingering, Emily knew she stood on the edge of a precipice. The conversation was evolving, and so was her self-awareness. Would her pursuit of genuine connection win out over the skepticism surrounding her ambitions? As she held her breath, the moment of truth seemed just out of reach, waiting to materialize. What would they decide? Would she find herself bridging dreams with reality, or could this meeting irrevocably alter her trajectory? A tense silence enveloped the room as Mr. Martinez weighed his response. Emily's heartbeat echoed in her ears, every moment stretching into eternity. She could feel the collective gaze of her colleagues, their scrutiny sharpening her awareness, forcing her to confront not just her proposal, but her very worth in this bustling corporate landscape. Culinary storytelling workshops, you say? His tone had shifted now, he seemed genuinely intrigued. Emily caught a subtle nod from Lisa, a senior director known for her sharp instincts. She hadn't anticipated such support, which ignited a spark of determination within her. What resources would that require? Her mind raced, transforming the moment into an opportunity for strategic planning. We would need a diverse team ready to share their personal stories, perhaps a facilitator experienced in narrative techniques, she proposed, the words spilling forth as her confidence steadied. We can collaborate with local chefs, use their expertise to drive home authenticity. What about the costs? A voice chimed in from the back, piercing her newfound clarity like a sharp knife. Doubt crept back, gnashing at her resolve. She had expected pushback, but encountering it meant facing the full weight of a corporate framework that thrived on budget sheets and bottom lines. Emily took a breath, exhaling any hint of uncertainty. If we frame it as an investment in employee engagement and brand loyalty, the returns could be substantial. Authenticity can lead to increased customer satisfaction and loyalty, translating to long-term profits. She hoped to convey the depth of her insight, fusing finance with passion. The thought of her family's recipes, rooted in community and history, felt like her secret weapon. But even as she spoke, a disturbing thought interrupted. Was she merely spouting jargon? Would they see beyond her idealistic visions? Mr. Martinez's brow furrowed again, the skepticism dancing in his eyes. But Emily, we are in the business of profits, not fairy tales. How do we turn storytelling into tangible results quickly? By sharing our team's culinary stories online, Emily countered with surprising assertiveness. Frontline staff can provide testimonials, showing how their heritage shapes their work. This isn't just a campaign, it's about re-establishing how our brand connects with the audience, a bridge between our company and the community. The energy in the room shifted, but uncertainty still lingered. She felt a rush of adrenaline, either they would embrace her vision or chalk it up to another failed pitch. A quiet resolve hardened within her, a pact with herself to keep pursuing this path no matter the outcome. As they began to discuss implementation, Emily caught snippets of doubt from other team members. People weren't unanimously on board yet, she'd have to fight for her proposal, defend it against long-standing norms. Suddenly, there was a soft knock at the door. In walked Sophia, one of the waitresses from a local Italian bistro frequented by the team. She noticed the flicker of surprise among her colleagues. Was that a chance meeting or serendipity? Sorry to interrupt, Sophia said, her voice gentle yet firm. I overheard parts of your conversation, and I just wanted to add cooking runs in my family too. It fosters connection and community. I've seen how we've gained customers just by sharing stories about our dishes. Emily's heart raced. This was precisely the authenticity she sought to incorporate into her proposal. Could Sophia help amplify the message's impact? Do you want to join in on these workshops? Emily asked, a surge of inspiration propelling her words. Your story could exemplify what we want to achieve. Sophia seemed taken aback, her eyes wide with the idea. But the atmosphere shifted again. But it needs to meet corporate expectations, she added cautiously, her expression clouded with concern. Emily realized the path ahead was more treacherous than she anticipated. Could she truly merge the creative narratives with corporate realities? The stakes had never been higher, and This interaction illuminated the profound gap she needed to bridge not just for the project but deeper within herself as well. The meeting drew to an awkward close, a blend of intrigue and lingering skepticism hanging in the air. Emily walked out with a new fire in her belly, yet shadows of doubt remained. Had Sophia's input invigorated the room, or had it only amplified their hesitation? Emerging from the conference room, Emily felt as if she had unmoored her ship, navigating through treacherous waters filled with both possibility and peril. She had planted seeds of connection, yet the question loomed, would they take root or wither away? Determined to reclaim her vision, she understood that today was merely the beginning of a longer journey toward her truth. Would she have the courage to face her internal conflicts and inspire others with her blended narrative? Just then, an email notification popped up on her phone, unmistakably from Mr. Martinez. The subject line chilled her, "Let's discuss next steps." Emily sat at her small kitchen table, surrounded by the remnants of her past photographs of family gatherings, kitchen utensils, and the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Today, however, the room buzzed with a palpable energy, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that had permeated her life for so long. She was no longer just a waitress, she was a burgeoning professional ready to carve her place in the business world. The email from Mr. Martinez had ignited a new chapter in her life, a call to action that ignited a flame of determination within her. As she opened her laptop, she felt a surge of adrenaline. She knew the stakes of the upcoming meeting were high. This was her chance to prove that her unique background could enhance their campaign about authentic Italian cuisine and culture. Each slide of her proposal had transformed into a narrative of resilience, rooted firmly in her heritage. She poured her heart into illustrating how the stories of her family and the meals they shared could resonate with broader audiences, deepen connections for the brand, and reshape its identity. Arriving at the office, Emily encountered a whirlwind of activity, a testament to a thriving team ready to innovate. However, the familiar throbbing of anxiety resurfaced, but this time it was accompanied by a flicker of confidence. Walking into the conference room, she felt her surroundings come alive, charged with expectation. "Thank you for your time today," she began, her voice steady and assured. The initial hesitation she had previously wrestled with faded, replaced by a compelling drive to convey her vision. She introduced her proposal, the polished slides intermingling with heartfelt anecdotes. As she spoke, she watched Mr. Martinez closely for any flicker of acknowledgement. He nodded at key points, seemingly captivated by the depth of her narrative. "Emily, your insights blend authenticity with strategic foresight," he said, bringing a rush of warmth to her core. For the first time, she felt a sense of belonging, a validation that transcended her initial role. But it was the ensuing discussion that gave her a deeper sense of purpose. Team members chimed in with their ideas, starting to visualize how her proposed culinary storytelling workshops could transform their brand's outreach. This collaborative spirit fortified her belief in the potential of authentic connections while bridging her past to their professional aspirations. By the end of the meeting, she had not only presented a well-received proposal but had also ignited a movement within the team. They left the room unified by her vision, ready to pursue a project that intertwined their professional ambitions with personal stories. Yet, the ultimate recognition came when Mr. Martinez turned to her. "I want you leading this initiative, Emily. Your perspective is invaluable." The unexpected acknowledgement felt transformative. In that moment, Emily realized she had conquered her self-doubt and emerged as a leader, a beacon showcasing the value of authenticity in a corporate world often shrouded in facades. Returning home, the weight of her family's struggles still lingered, but she now possessed the confidence to bridge her aspirations with their needs. Today had not only been a triumph for her career but also marked a defining moment of personal growth. Gone were the days of sidelining her ambitions. She had found a way to honor her family's legacy while pursuing her own aspirations. With renewed determination, Emily envisioned how her initiative could not only drive benefiting outcomes for the brand but also create avenues to uplift her family. This opportunity could become a sustainable bridge of support, providing her with the ability to address their financial struggles without compromising her ambitions. In the weeks that followed, she worked tirelessly, developing the framework for the culinary storytelling workshops while simultaneously sharing her plans with her family. To her surprise, they were incredibly supportive, seeing her journey not as a betrayal but as an evolution of their shared values. In her mother's eyes, she perceived pride radiating a powerful affirmation that her daughter's success would be a communal victory. Conversations around the dinner table shifted from discussions of financial constraints to the excitement of potential growth and collaboration. Emily had not only reached a career milestone but had also nurtured her identity within her family, all of which revolved around the very stories that had shaped her. By embracing her passion and leveraging her experiences, Emily had forged a pathway to success, not just for herself but for those she loved. Her small apartment, once just a retreat from the chaos of the diner, now felt like a launchpad to a future defined by fulfillment and purpose. Now, as Emily reflected on her journey from waitress to project leader, she recognized the transformative power of her decisions. She had become the architect of her own life, breathing authenticity into every facet. The question of loyalty remained complex, but she had learned that ambition did not have to come at the cost of familial bonds. Instead, her pursuit could intertwine them even tighter. With determination fueling her every step, Emily looked forward, ready to embrace the challenges ahead. She had proved to herself that she could shape her destiny while honoring her roots, a celebration of her past that harmoniously propelled her into the future. Now is the time to join the journey of others like Emily. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is what makes these stories possible. Comment your reactions and theories about Emily's transformation. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of backing this journey.